holiday weekend, we are back. And just to say thank you to everyone for all the positive comments and people have made contact with us about last week, which means an awful lot to us. It was a little unexpected, but we're delighted. So there's been lots of fun things going on in our life. It's really propelled us into doing different things ourselves and staying focused. And like Laura was down on the beach doing yoga classes this week, which was amazing. And there's lots more of that to come. So we've had a super week around that. And one of the things that you might know, before we do this each session, we get together and we talk about what is our why. Why are we doing this podcast? Why are we sharing this information? What do we want to get out of this? And what do we want you to walk away with?
Yeah.
So some of the things that came back last week, questions to us or requests, was that we would talk a little bit more about the conscious and subconscious brain. So we thought, oh, deadly, that's great. Right up our alley.
Yes.
So we said, okay, we'll do that. So we're going to start a conversation around that. I can't guarantee where this is going to go, but we're going to go with it. So anyway, hopefully we'll just have some fun, but also, help you understand a little bit more around how our brain functions and how maybe we have trouble changing things in our lives and habits and things like that, and how maybe we'll be able to work around that a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the things, Laura, that we both studied the brain, and one of the things that I found fascinating was that when I realised that we live in our subconscious 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard it before, but it actually landed with me and it went, oh my God.
Yes.
And then 5% in our conscious space.
Yes.
So I found that amazing. And then when I found out more stuff, then it was around that the subconscious brain actually it picks up like 20 million stimuli per second.
Yes.
Whereas the conscious brain only picks up 40. Now, not 40 million.
I know.
40 stimuli. So there's this massive gap
Yes.
between the conscious and the subconscious.
Huge gap.
Stuff that we never really talk about. And it's only when you get to there and you learn that and you go, what does that actually mean for me?
Yeah.
What does that mean in my life?
Yeah.
And how can I adjust things? And what do I need to do
Yeah.
to kind of get in the space that I need to get in, so that I'm really fully functional on high gear as often as I need to be?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I remember reading one time that that left brain, there's where your unconscious lies. You have your unconscious and your conscious. Unconscious then is that left brain, and it takes in, you just said like that amount, but equated 20 million, but equated into day to day. And I remember reading like it's 174 papers a day.
Oh my God.
So like that's how much information our nervous system takes in and tries to literally kind of equate it through our body and through our mind and through our thoughts. And like I'm fascinated about the right and left brain, and to understand that left brain, we actually have two hemispheres.
Yeah.
So when you look at the brain, they're quite different in how they actually even appear. You'll see the left brain, they actually has loads of folds like tissues, and the folds actually look like little filing systems, little filing cabinets, because that's what I always say, like our it's a filing cabinet. And then your right brain looks much more expanded and relaxed, and it's creative and it's moving, grooving, and curiosity lies. So that's, for me, like my big passion is that 0 to 7 age. So when we are 0 to 7, we are basically sponges. We are walking
completely.
around, and we are observing everybody. So we're like it's almost like when we come into this world, and just before it actually, like after 3 months of being in the womb, in utero, our nervous system is picking up so much about our mom and what's going on, and so even when we're coming out, we're ready. We've already started being programmed. So from 0 to 7 is when we absorb everything. After 7, then your consciousness kind of starts to wake up. But I just think the power behind that is huge, and we all know, like.
Oh, completely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where a lot of our own beliefs and our own systems come from, and our negative self-beliefs. Oh, I can't do this, or I'm crap at this, or I'm the other. That's all sitting in your subconscious.
Yes.
And the big thing for me, which was a game changer for me in my life, was how I figured what my shift was.
Yes.
How did I shift out of that not negative space, but that space where I was limiting myself.
Yes.
Into a space where I thought that limitation belief does not serve me anymore. It might have for a while at a certain age, but that's not my truth anymore.
Yes.
So I need to replace that.
Yes.
And I had to learn how to do that.
Yes.
And my God, since I've learned how to do that, it's a different place you're living in, because the limits are, you take away those limits for yourself then, and you actually start to live your truth, and you actually start to live to your strengths, realize what they are,
Yes.
and you know that once you know how strong you are in certain areas, you become passionate about that, and then you start to build your confidence inside, because then you start to think, oh, the negative self-beliefs give you that negative feeling about yourself, whereas when you start to build confidence and strength, then that changes into a positive.
Yes.
So that all feeds into how you feel about yourself, your confidence levels, your self-esteem, all of those things shift completely. And I think that's something people really struggle with. I mean, I struggled that for well into my 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
Making it on time even now. So, yeah, I mean, that's just something that's normal for everybody. It's part of life.
And do you know, but it's when you decide to actually look within, or you kind of go, you know, how can you change something if you don't know what's in there? Yes. And that's where mental clearing comes in, or, you know, clearing out the different compartments in your brain. And, you know, and we talk about belief systems. It's only an adult you're like, is that true? Is that really true? Do I believe that? And, you know, it's then you realize how much you have been programmed by your peers, by your obviously your parents, your sisters, brothers, teachers have a huge impact on children. So, and even like we were laughing earlier on, I was like, gosh, like, you know, the one-liners that we say, like, you know, I'll test them. Will I test them on you and see, can you answer?
Yeah, I'm actually going to get nervous now, because this is my subconscious going, oh, there's an exam coming up, I'm getting nervous.
Okay, just to give you an example, like, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to be
successful.
Yes. Yeah. 2 for 2.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. Let me see others. Okay.
I can stop at 2. It's okay.
Okay. But you know, or money doesn't grow on trees, or
we would have grown up with that. I mean, then, and I know that we would have said that to, you know, other family members and go, you do not remember mom telling you money doesn't grow on trees. Like, if that was just that was a mantra we had at that point. Like, you just had to. It's just the way it was.
Exactly. Or I can't afford it. Or, you know, you'd be walking around the shop and you're as a child and you'd be like, can I have that teddy bear? Can I have that sweet? No, we can't afford it. And that, like, and you'd hear that on a daily basis. So that this is programming, and then you wonder why you have to work hard, or money just literally like falls out of your hands, you know. So why you can't, or even like around relationships, you know, you know, I'm not good enough, or, you know, you're not beautiful, or, you know, I have crookedy teeth, or, you know, I may be overweight. So all of these things like have a huge impact on us, and it's only when we go to revisit that's the start of the shift.
Completely.
And then when we start to look at it and start to write out, like I've done workshops on this, and where I would actually get people to write lists out. So I'd have different headings. Okay, what do you believe about men? What do you believe about women? What do you believe about religion? What do you believe about sex? What do you believe about success? What do you believe about health? The amount of people that come into me and they say, now Laura, I have 2 colds a year, and I'm going, really? do you program yourself that way? Do you know, like they go, oh yeah, every September and every January I have 2 colds every year. And I'm like, listen, and it's tapping back into what I said, you know, last week about the cells. You know, our brain doesn't have a sense of humor, so everything you tell it believes, and your cells are absorbing it. Like we were just saying about, you know, habits and that, you know, and you said to me, what was the question? How long does it take a habit to really stick?
Oh yeah, to stick, because you hear different things. Yes. And how many people have tried, including myself, where you go, oh my gosh, I'm going to go on a diet next week, or I'm going to start training for a 5k next week, and then Monday comes and you go, oh, maybe next Monday, or Monday comes and you start, and then you go, okay, it's Wednesday, I've been really good for 2 days now, so I'll just have 1 bar of chocolate, like, so, and then it never really goes anywhere. So so those habits are very difficult, and once you do that on a regular basis, that becomes your that's just what happens. Unless you consciously then decide, no, I have a plan here, this is the action I'm going to take, and this is how I'm going to make this shift. And that takes, it took me a long time to learn all that stuff. But
oh my
some
gosh.
people get it like that, but it can take time.
Because
there's so much else going on in our lives. Like, the thing is that, you know, we have so many other roles that we play, and that are so important in our lives, and we are central to those. And if we don't play that role correctly, or give enough of ourselves in that role, then we feel someone else might suffer, especially if you're a parent and you're looking after kids. I mean, they're obviously the priority. So So sometimes we get lost in that. So
Yes.
any chance of us even wanting to try to change a habit or behaviour can be really challenging.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's later on then when we actually have some space, or we create that space for ourselves, that we can actually start to go in that direction.
Yes. Yeah.
But then, you know what also I noticed with this is that is where that self-sabotaging starts. You know, when you're growing up and you're a teenager and you're like, oh, I don't look as good as someone else, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I'm not going into that relationship, or you're in a relationship and you're like, they can't love me that way because someone else said, you know, there's something else going in your subconscious that you heard from someone somewhere before that I'm not good enough to love.
Yes.
You know, from whoever it was, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's in your subconscious.
Yes.
So then unless you manage to shift out of that and realize that you are worthy of love,
yes,
you're going to struggle in a relationship where someone really loves you, because you're not going to feel like you're worth that. And that's such a common, more than you'd actually realize. That's quite common.
Huge, Amanda. There's so many people in relationships, and they're accepting because that's what they're used to. And it kind of goes back to again, you see, for me it works from the thoughts, and then it works also from the nervous system as well. So there's two things, you know, there's a few things going on. But it's going back even further, like what I was saying about the cells last week. We do have the power to reprogram. It's just that we need to make that conscious decision to do it.
And they would say, like, in the it's really to be in when we talk about only the conscious mind and only having that 5%, that's when it's really, you really have to be. And when you hear people say you have to be present, I mean, that's all the thing everybody talks about now, present moment. That's what they're talking about. Being in that conscious space for that particular time when you're making that shift.
Yes.
And staying in that space. And how you stay in that space is you repeat the behaviour, you have an action and you have a plan.
Yes.
And you move forward with that.
Yes.
And then it goes back to how long does it take to change a pattern and a behaviour.
Yes.
It's continual process.
Yes.
And then but you have to stay in that conscious space to really get the most out of that.
It's even to stay in the conscious space, or just be aware of the conscious space. You know, it's like you need to become the observer. And when you know, I've often even said to Ava, poor Ava, I can't use her as an example for everything. You know, like Ava would have a reaction with me, or and vice versa, and vice versa. It's funny actually. And I would say to her, Ava, I don't care what you say to me, it's fine, but just catch yourself. And then a couple of weeks after I said that, she went, she had a reaction. She went, oh, sorry, ma'am, I caught myself. And I was like, fabulous, you can say anything to
like
me.
She's so young, she already gets it. Like,
she already gets it.
But see, that's so important too, I think, for an example, because you live this life. She lives that because you are her environment, you are her space. She hears that all the time. So that is something she learns. She's learned from a very early age. Well, from the time she popped out from. Well, she popped out, I don't know.
Actually, she was photographed in I think I said this, I don't know whether I said that last week, is that when I did have her and I held her on my heart, and they went, literally, like, it was my first time having a baby, and they went, oh, stop, and I went, what? And they said, can we take a photograph? And I was like, why? Am I holding her wrong? And they went, no, we're actually doing a project on it. You're holding your baby heart to heart. And I was like, oh,
that's gorgeous.
So I walked out a week later with her, and they had the big photograph of me and her.
Oh, you're cute.
Yeah. Probably still up there in Lourdes. But so she lit, like, yes, we do live it. But it's just so important. It's, you know, and the only reason, like, it is a habit, and it's, as I said, it is becoming that observer. Now, it's a habit, but becoming the observer, but also with no judgment.
And being kind to yourself.
Yes.
I think it's a huge piece, that no judgment and being kind to yourself, and realising we're kind. If you think about your life, like, and I know that for us definitely, and for loads of people that I know, they live their life in that kindness, where they do, they are, you know, people will say, God, you're very kind, and it used to be hard to hear someone say that, to be like, what? You just, this is part of who you are. But the people are very, very kind, and we forget to be kind to ourselves, you know, which is so hard, because we need to be able to be kind to ourselves. We need to be gentle with ourselves, and we need to just be with ourselves. And that, I think, one of our biggest whys today also is just that people understand that it is the beginning of a process, and it's about just understanding. Start to get to know yourself, start to reintroduce yourself to your deeper self, and learn how you operate, learn how you feel. Take as long as you like. It doesn't matter. Shift takes time, but change takes time. So it's about that. It's about nurturing you now
Yes.
to be able to make those changes.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just what you say, it's being able to observe and notice things.
Yes.
Notice your responses.
Yes.
I have to say, Bruce Lipton did the biology of belief. He's fantastic.
One of my favourite teachers, yeah.
And he talks about toothpaste. So, and this goes back to our beliefs that we have and how we're raised. So, for any of you out there, toothpaste, has anyone been raised where you have to have the cap on the toothpaste? And you can't squeeze it from the middle or the top, it has to go from the bottom. And that is just how some people are, because that's how you're raised. And then what happens when you're in someone's house, or you're staying over, or you're in a relationship, or you're married, or whatever, and somebody does it from the middle, and they leave the top off. So like you go into this like tizzy, I'm like, oh my god. And that's normal response, right? But what we're saying about that awareness piece, being mindful of yourself, is when you can actually stop and go, start to actually laugh and go, at the end of the day, it's toothpaste. It makes no odds. There's probably a million other things in your life that are more significant that you can give your time to besides toothpaste. But it's a really good example, because that's just our subconscious moving right to the forward and going, oh my god, we're having a reaction. But if we stop and go, I actually don't need to have that reaction anymore. I got mad when I was a kid and my sisters and brothers were doing that. That drove me mad, but that's not true. It doesn't serve me anymore to have that negative thought.
Actually, I remember, I think it's Kate Byron, and she said, when you notice that, just go, is that true?
Absolutely perfect.
Is that true?
Perfect.
So you're kind of, and how I would actually say to be, even to my own clients and to myself, I go, stop, delete, or bless. Everybody knows me, bless. I have clients that come to me and go, Laura, that was a double bless, because it's like, somebody's giving out to you and you're like, bless, and it's just you come up with something like a word to stop that reaction, whether it's delete, or bless, whatever the word is, or just simply stop, because we were talking about thoughts, like we actually have like between 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Like that's kind of scary.
No wonder we're exhausted at the end of the day. My gosh.
Actually, I have another little
another test.
No. No, I was just saying that 20% of like our energy, our brain actually takes up 20% of our energy, and that's because that monkey mind is going all the time, and really that's where consciousness comes in. We have your left brain, your right brain, but consciousness is that awareness, and people have often said, where does consciousness lie? What is it? If you just think that I have a body, you have a body, I have a head, you have a head, I have a brain, you have a brain,
most days.
But I don't have a conscious and you don't have a conscious. Consciousness exists. And the big thing, if we understand what consciousness is, it's really perception, and if you just really think, even on a deeper level, what is perception? The world. So if I was saying to you, like, everything gets, my perception of you, I'll say to you, Amanda, you're sitting there, but Amanda, you're not sitting there. There's kind of a light on you, which goes into my retina. I take it in. I feel where you are. If I was to hold your hand, people say, oh, I love holding your hand, I can feel you, everything. Yes, I can feel you, but actually, where is the sensations? Where am I really feeling it? I'm feeling it inside. It's sensations. So that's where consciousness comes in. So anything you shine a light on, like, this is a real example, like if we're talking about like where energy goes where energy flows. Like, how many of you have thought, like, I'm going to get a new car, and you have never seen the car on the road, and then suddenly you see exactly. Why? What just happened there? It's your intention to pay attention. So you suddenly seen the car because you shined a light on it. So then you're perceiving it inside.
It's connecting.
Yes. So nothing actually, we have this experience of the world, but nothing is actually outside of us. We have the reactions inside.
Perfectly
said.
And
that's what consciousness is. And when you take that, and that's called taking your power back. We've often heard those words. I've written them myself on posters, like for my Louise Hay workshops, gone, take your power back, people. But what does that actually mean? It means the more conscious you are, the more you slow your monkey mind down, which taking 20% of your energy, then you can say less, be less, just be, and then you're actually giving the power to those energy cells what I talked about last week.
Because you're present.
Present.
Yeah. And it's so important. But so, and that's why the mindfulness piece and meditation for a lot of people, or even taking that, like we talked about last week, that 5 minute space for yourself, that quiet space is so crucial to start this process even. Yeah.
So again, going home, or for this week.
Yeah. What we were talking about maybe doing, is that we would look at if you think about one limiting self belief that you have yourself, and take your time with it. Don't rush the first one that comes to your head. Okay. Really dig deep into this and say, what is the one thing that I really do limit myself, and I haven't done something because somebody maybe told me when I was growing up I couldn't do it, or something has happened to make me think that. And then during the week we want you to really focus on that and ask yourself, sit with yourself for a few minutes on that quest or that belief and go, does that really serve me anymore? Is that actually true? Is that taking up space in my being, in my head, in my energy? If it's not even true, why do I have it now? And what is it that how could I shift that, right? So how could I reframe that? So for example, we were trying to think of examples of this earlier, and it could be something like you don't think you're attractive, okay, or there's something about you have a pimple, or you have something on your face, right? So you go to, what we would suggest you do is you go to a mirror and you look at the mirror, but you make yourself stay there, because it's so easy to just go away from that. But you want to be able to stay there and just look at yourself and actually just go, God, I have really, I really like my eyes. Not to say it knows about anything else, but it's just you pick one thing, because that's about your appearance, so that's specific to that. Or it could be that you like your teeth, it could be that you like your lips, it could be that you like your cheekbones, it could be something. But look at something positive and start to reframe. So instead of looking and making a comment like, I just am not attractive, you now start to reframe that by going, do you know something, I have really gorgeous eyes, or I have really high cheekbones. So you come from that negative self-belief to something positive about yourself. And that applies in any other, examples you could think of.
Well, even just the one that we used, money doesn't grow on trees. I am an abundant being.
Yeah.
I'm an abundant being, yes I am. I'm an abundant being, yes I am. It's just...
We didn't practice that song before I came on here, by the way.
I'm an abundant being, people. But it's like, as you said, it's just rephrasing it. Words have power.
Yeah, and it's simple things like if you wanted to go, say, and do a 5K, and you said, if you start a sentence with, I'd love to do something, that means you're limiting yourself in some way. If you haven't followed through and it's been something you've always wanted to do. So you could say something like, I want to do a 5K run, you're like, I can't do that. Well, why can't you do that? Like, who told you couldn't do that, and what is stopping you from doing that right now? And then if there's nothing, then you go, okay, well then you need to put a plan together. So you need action. So you need to put something on writing to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It might take me a week to get myself organised. I might need to get new runners. But you make a list of those things, and then you tick them off as you do them, and then you do it. And then that's done. You don't have that negative self-belief anymore. And your frame goes to, I'm actually practicing for this 5K, and I'm going to really do well, and I've a plan in place. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah. I was actually going to say, it's actually bringing the feeling.
Yeah.
Going, oh God, like this week I said to you, I said, I'm actually so happy the amount I've done this week, and I'm like, amazing. And I was like, amazing, so it's actually the feeling that it's giving me will hold me and sustain me more than anything else. So it's almost, I'm taking the thoughts out of it and the lists out of it. It's more the feeling that it's given me, and that's what we're all looking for, is that feel good factor. So what's that feel good factor? By simply doing what you're doing, what you just said, have a little plan, take an action, and then just absorb the feeling. And that's what the addiction is.
No, totally. And like when we talk about the brain as well, I'll just do this real quick. Is the brain we have three brains: the head, the heart, and the gut. And when you are fully aligned with all of those brains, you are in that space where there is no barriers to what you can do. So for example, oftentimes it's not everybody is in that space all of the time, and it is important to make a conscious effort to get there and to make do some work around that. However, if you have been in a situation where your brain is telling you one thing, I'm going to go on that amber light, and your gut is going, don't do it, don't do it. Like, so there's a disconnect completely inside of yourself, and there's a struggle when you have that struggle internally, no matter what it's related to, that sense of complete equilibrium in your body is not going to happen because you're not fully aligned with your three brains.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
1000%.
Okay, so for this week we want you to try that little reframing exercise.
Yes.
And see how you get on with that.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you write it down or even do a picture around it, what you're actually doing is you're activating the right and the left brain together, and they work together. Then there's a little bridge between the two of them, and then they don't actually ever merge. But the more you actually be more creative with it, then the more it actually will hold it. Okay, we'll really hold it. So yes.
So one of the things we did want to say was people had asked us to do the morning routine for the tapping. But we decided that we'd keep that separate, and we'll actually do one small podcast on the tapping exercises so that you can have those, and we just focus on that in that particular day. If that's okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys next week, and we're lining up some different topics, but feel free to respond and let us know as the things that you want us to talk about in relation to the energies in the body and just how you can make changes and adjust to different patterns. But have an amazing week, everybody, because we know we are going to certainly have that. So anyway, have a great time. Thanks a million.
Bye. See you later.